Now, Iran says it will deliver an unprecedented retaliation to any US attacks as it responded to a military threat from Donald Trump. The US president said a massive armada was moving quickly towards the Gulf weeks after pledging to intervene during a deadly crackdown on demonstrations. Human rights groups say thousands have been killed, though figures are hard to confirm amid an ongoing internet blackout.
The streets of Tehran resemble a postcard to Washington. But in case billboards aren't enough, the US and Iran continue to trade threats.
And by the way, there's another beautiful Armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now.
Mr. Trump, who has talked of an Armada before, is thought to be referring to a US naval force headed by the USS Abraham Lincoln that is now in the Middle East. Iran has warned of dire consequences if there is any US attack, as Tehran continues its clampdown of anti-government protesters who began taking to the streets 1 month ago today in some of the biggest demonstrations in living memory. With protests now said to have abated, an almost total internet blackout in Iran continues. Human rights organisations saying the number of demonstrators killed could be anywhere between 5,000 and 25,000 as the retribution goes on.
Lately, I've been receiving many reports of security forces, including plainclothes security forces, going into hospitals to identify protesters, but also to detain them. And I think, and that has been reported, again, not just in one province, but in multiple provinces.
Iran's currency has lost about 5% of its value this month, with inflation rising. The dire economic problems that sparked the Iranian protests hardening, as is Tehran's response to those who hoped for change. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News.
Well, let's get more on this now from our Washington correspondent, Sean Whelan, who's standing by. So Donald Trump talking about a massive armada being sent to the Gulf. Sean, how serious is this situation now between the US and Iran?
Well, it's building back up again, isn't it? I mean, we saw these threats during the Christmas period, in the New Year period, because of that very severe clampdown by the Iranian authorities against demonstrators, people who are opposed to the regime. Thousands have been killed, at least 5,000 that are known of. About 17,000 more deaths are being investigated at the moment. So it was a very severe repression. But the Americans held back from doing anything at the time, as did the Israelis. The Americans said we didn't have an aircraft carrier there because they'd pulled it out to conduct the operation against Venezuela. Now they've reinstated an aircraft carrier back into the Gulf. It arrived 2 days ago, along with all its support ships. So there is a lot of military hardware down there, but it's not necessarily something new in the region. They normally do keep aircraft carriers and a lot of additional aircraft on station down that way. Now, the Americans say they're there to conduct exercises. Neighbouring countries, notably Saudi Arabia, saying you're not doing it in our airspace and we're not going to facilitate any attacks on Iran. The president talking tough, saying this is about getting the Iranians to the table to cut a nuclear deal. But in the past hour, his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying, you know what, the regime needs to do some changes as well, because they can't really give the kind of changes that those protesters have been looking for. So tensions definitely rising, but short of military action now, I think.
All right, Sean in Washington, thank you.